The RuneScape community has died. If we look at Google Trends and we see that in 2004 there's the same amount of interest in the game as there is today in 2013. The peak of the game was in 2006. Obviously, Jagex needs to be making a change. I'm relatively certain the only reason that they're still afloat is because of Solomon's Store and the Squeal Wheel. Now, I'm not a cynic. I want to say that at first. I do like some of the updates Jagex has done since 2006. For instance, I like player-owned ports, though I'll get into more details as to why exactly I think player-owned ports is a little bit silly in terms of the game's progression. I like their quests, and I like the new bosses. I also think that bot busting has gotten significantly better. But I think there's a few main reasons for Jagex's downfall and sort of the decline of the community. First of all, the player base started being babied in about 2007. If you remember, there used to be a huge problem with scamming, and I guess I remember the first time I got scammed, I was at the Law Altar. I had just gotten 1K law runes from law running, and they used the old pull the 90% of the money away trick while putting up another item to distract you. And that was my first scam. Slowly, Jagex started implementing updates to stop scamming, and sort of, even though this is something that was protecting players, at the same time it was like an element of the game that was you had to be alert and on guard, and it was entertaining for some people to do the scamming, and at the same time, it kind of teaches you life lessons to trust no one, and I guess that wasn't really there anymore. But beyond that, then they had the assist system, and I think initially when the Grand Exchange came out, everyone thought it was a really cool update, but I think this also really killed the community because you used to have players all interacting in World 2 Falador, and now it's basically anyone who's trading, they went to the Grand Exchange, but now there's no one even in World 2 anymore. It's just dicers, because there's no reason you would ever want to trade in World 2. After free trade was removed, there was reason because it was junk trading, but now it's basically not even an MMO anymore because no one interacts with each other. And that was one of the things that was cool, was meeting new people, and there was always everyone all over the place. And Jagex has also made a lot of the skills completely robotic. If you look at fletching, it started with fletching at least. It used to be that when you strung bows, you'd have to rapid click on the bows, back and forth, the bowstring, the bow, the bowstring, the bow. And back when they released this and they started making skills easier to train, I remember Zezima made some sort of comment about he got a bill XP and said he was going to stop playing sort of religiously, and he said he was going to do this because they're starting to make the skills easier, and I thought, initially he was just being cynical, but when you look at what they've done since then, it's gotten pretty terrible. The next thing they did was they made prayer. It used to be that you had to use the bones on your altar, but now it's just click and wait for your bones to be offered on your altar. Then they did it with mining, so now you can just sit on concentrated ore all day, and it's the same as every other skill. And then we were making jokes when they released those updates about, do you think that they would release fire making so that way, you wouldn't have to go and light every log? And they said, no, they never do that. Okay, then they released bonfires so that there's no longer any sort of technique used. The GE fire making method was a huge part of the game, and that was one of the things that made the thing fun, is if you're trying to be efficient, then you have to do more work than other players that are just kind of screwing around. Now it's just everyone's sitting on a bonfire all day, and no one has to do any work. Then in Herblore, you can't even clean herbs or crush nests because you just have to sit and wait for it to do it for you rather than clicking. And it's how is any skill in the game different than anything else? The only thing that's different now is construction and agility. Every other skill is a variation on the same clicking pattern. It's just it's really frustrating. And if you look at what made RuneScape fun back in 2006, it was PKing, which is completely gone now, pretty much because of the EOC. And I will go into why I think that they implemented the EOC, which I don't think that they had the wrong idea in what they were doing, but the way it was executed was really kind of terrible. Then progressing levels with your friends was also like a huge thing, whereas now it seems like when they removed free trade, the whole initiative has kind of been that they kicked away all of the free players and kind of stopped the growth of the game. And since there's no like lower level of noobs that are leveling up anymore, it completely destroyed what was fun about the game, because all of those noobs that are trying to join when no one else is joining with them, they feel like they're hugely far behind. And this is really seen in like PVM nowadays. The old bosses, like if you look at Chaos Elemental, KBD, what else? Kelphite Queen. They're basically, these were bosses that you could do at like level 80, but now you can't even make money off doing them. Whereas in 2006 you could, because these were the highest level things in the game. So I think by moving the game forward, although I respect what they're doing, the way they do it makes it so that every other item beforehand becomes obsolete. As I was saying before, the player-owned ports update, basically when everyone has Tetsu and Sea Singers and Death Lotus, no one is going to be paying for Nex armor, so Nex will be obsolete. And obviously if no one's playing for Nex armor, then like Bandos becomes obsolete, and it's just it's sort of a cycle of like every time they release an update, like, oh gee, nothing is worth anything anymore. And now that they've released Drygore, like what's the reason for even doing dungeoneering and getting a rapier? And when they released the rapier, whips became worth nothing. So it's been a sort of horrible progression in the game. So if you look at what could be done about this, I think that what Jagex is going to need to do is release a 2006 version of the game where I don't think they should have character copies over, because then everyone will just be fully progressed. They should just sort of create a new copy, like you keep your username, but you are engaged in 2006, like exactly as it was. And that was like the golden age of the game. And you know, I don't know if this would actually help bring the game back to life, but I'm sure it would make everyone a lot happier. I don't think most people like the EOC, and for the people that do, they're welcome to stay, but the community does need to be split at this point, because I think the game is on its last legs. I doubt if anyone will even watch this video, because who watches videos on YouTube anymore for RuneScape? But anyways, so yeah, I think that they should split the community like that, and essentially it should revitalize the game to some degree. And I'm just making this video as a response to Sorex's initiative towards the petition to ask Jagex, and it seems like it's been working, so we'll have more information on February 20th about it. And yeah, so that's that. I hope you enjoyed the screenshots in the video, and I'll see you later.